Hello everyone, I'm C.flv and welcome to South News. Joining us today is the Director for Corporate Strategic Alliances at Intel Corporation, Mr. Richard Hall. Mr. Hall, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you. Tell us about what Intel is up to today, sort of its direction in this ever-changing world of ours.
Well, we have a corporate mission to try to bring technology to improve the lives of all the people on the planet, which is 7 billion people. When you consider that only today, out of those 7 billion, about 1.2 billion have access to the internet, as one example, we have a long ways to go before the planet is connected together and all people have access to the benefits that technology can provide.
Absolutely. In your strategic alliances with, let's say, the private industry now, there are, I understand, alliances with Cisco Systems, with Nokia, and other very huge technology, and sort of computer software and hardware makers. Tell us about these programs. Tell us about the initiatives underlying these programs and who, in fact, they're helping.
Well, we have a number of partnerships within what we call our industry ecosystem, which includes, as you mentioned, Cisco, Nokia, Microsoft, many other companies. In the larger expanse of the partnerships, we work with the United Nations, with the development banks like the World Bank or Inter-American Development Bank, for example, and non-government organizations as well. There's no way to reach the next 5 billion or 6 billion people on the planet with our own resources as one company. We have to partner with governments, civil society, other private sector partners, the development community, and NGOs. It's the only way to accomplish a goal that ambitious.
Speaking of public and private partnerships, for South News, one of our imperatives is truly to help bridge the digital divide in connecting these public and private partnerships. We were just last month, in the beautiful country of Antigua and Barbuda with the Intel World Ahead program. And so we met some of the reps, and it was such a phenomenal experience of truly seeing it, public and private partnership in action. If you can enlighten us on what Intel is doing with the World Ahead program today and how it's looking ahead for this program.
Sure. The World Ahead program is working on developing exactly those kinds of partnerships. The example in Antigua and Barbuda is a good example. There's another announcement that was made just about a month ago in Palestine, which is a very difficult place to do business for a number of reasons. And there are dozens of other examples around the world where we and other companies have worked with those partners, government, development agencies, and NGOs to find creative solutions to bring technology to people. The digital divide will always exist to some degree, but if we work together with governments and other private sector partners, we can continue to reduce it bit by bit over time.
Mr. Hall, I think we have to touch base a bit on climate change. It's such a growing concern, and we're really seeing it on a daily basis on how our world is changing in the sense of our environment and climate and disasters. How can ICT help in climate change mitigation?
Well, let me give you one example. Right now, within Intel, we have an initiative that seeks to develop ways to apply technology to solve exactly those kinds of problems. One very specific example, climate modeling is extremely difficult, and it requires huge amounts of computing power. In fact, large supercomputers in university settings are used for climate modeling. And going forward, as we improve information technology, as we increase computing power, it will give scientists and governments more and more ability to project long-term what climate changes may be. So technology really is at the heart of solving climate issues.
I have to ask you also a question on sustainable development. There's the Rio Plus 20 upcoming conference in 2012 next year. And key issues there on sustainable development is what's being called green growth, green economy. What is the tie with ICT and really helping to promote green growth for countries?
Well, there are so many connections between what you call green growth and information technology. Let me give you one. There is something called the smart grid, which utility companies over time, in cooperation with our industry, are going to learn how to develop. Electric grids waste a lot of power, and they're not nearly as efficient as they could be. So embedding information technology, embedding computing power into these electrical grids can make them far more efficient, reduce the need for producing electricity, reduce the carbon footprint that is necessary to produce electricity, and benefit everyone in the process. That's just one example, and there are dozens more that I could offer.
As an ICT leader and of course a huge representative of Intel Corporation, What is the focus that countries, that private companies should truly try to endeavor in our ever-changing world with all these issues that are developing?
Well, there are 2 or 3 themes that emerge over and over again in every country where we work and in every country where we are trying to bridge the digital divide and bring technology to everyone. The first is to reduce and remove barriers. There are a lot of artificial barriers to technology adoption. There are unnecessary taxes, there are tariffs, there are regulations that make no sense. The second thing to do is to increase competition. When you have competition among providers of any service, it reduces the price and increases the availability. Particularly this is true in broadband. You find in countries that have one monopoly broadband provider, prices are too high, availability is too low. When competition is introduced, that all changes dramatically and very quickly. So eliminate barriers and increase competition. And third, back to the theme I mentioned before, work in partnership. This is something that the private sector is getting better at, I hope. But governments, NGOs, development agencies, civil society, United Nations, companies like us need to be around the table as partners. It's the only way to reach all the people on the planet. Otherwise, each of us individually will reach one audience and we won't combine our forces to reach everyone.
So collective efforts
Collective
on all
efforts.
aspects.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much for being here. What a
Thank you,
pleasure and
Afaf.
honor to meet you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall. Thank you for joining us here on South News today. I'm Afaf Kanja. We'll see you soon.